I'm Eric Barden.
I'm Amy Barden.
And welcome to another episode of Bombardin'. Today we're going to roll part 2 of Omari Salisbury. And if you didn't see part 1, you're going to want to.
You should. Yes.
You should. Yeah. Well, how would you describe part 1?
It was so fun for me to be the interviewer because I've been in public spaces with him, generally like press conferences, and he's such a responsible journalist. He's very circumspect. He's very respectful of people and creates a lot of space. And to be able to just hear his opinions and perspectives is so fun for me. Yeah. And I overwhelmingly obviously agree with him. You know, I mean, he's saying in sometimes more colorful terms what I hear all the time from community members.
Well, he's definitely fun to talk to.
Yeah.
He and I met out on the street in front of East Precinct during Chap Chaz when I was in uniform and in a little bit of a tense environment. He was there interviewing folks, and he and I had a very civil conversation. And I had no idea at that time that at some point we would be interviewing him on our podcast that wouldn't even remotely have been contemplated back in 2020. But part 1 was a lot of fun, and I think part 2 is going to continue. Prepare to be bombarded.
I was just talking to a UW professor. We're working on a project together, and we're talking about recovery from addiction. First of all, we know that like crime is correlating with mental health issues and very often substance use. And I said, can I just ask
addiction.
you...
Substance use.
Substance
okay, go ahead.
Use. Well, you can use a substance without being addicted to it.
What are you talking about?
That's where we paused to...
Come on now.
Yeah. But anyhow, when I was asking, I said, everybody I've talked to in recovery who's sustained it for a long time, stayed sober for a long time. Deontay's one of them, right?
Yeah,
everyone I talk to, they say black, white, whatever age, whatever gender, they all say the same things about what's required, that you can get fully into recovery and that you need connection to people, connection to purpose, that, the same recommendations. And I was asking her, I said, why is that never part of the design? Like, why isn't that part of the sort of harm reduction framework or design? And she said, I love the honesty. She said, honestly, Amy, she said, we say we center the voices of the lived experience. She said, we center the voice of the experience that validates what we want to be true, which is like the opposite
confirmation
of
bias.
Confirmation bias.
Nice.
Yeah. But I mean, that's just one example, but I do see it all over the place. And it's interesting when I was in the Midwest. I mean, generally, I was the only white person in the room, the place where I lived and where my kids were going to school. And again, I was in the space of childhood trauma and mental health. And it was interesting to learn from folks how important faith was in that community, how important, again, it was like, we need parents, right? Like we need men to lead and to show up in families where that is lacking. And everybody was so clear about it. And then I go back to my sort of academic white space, and there's 50 recommendations that don't have anything to do with what the community is saying.
So I think that you bring up something important. And if we're going to solve these issues in our city, everybody just got to stop lying. They just got to stop lying in it is performed. There hasn't been Mayor Harrell came close a few times. Mayor Durkin wasn't in a position to kind of say it. But it's like, man, a big part of us getting better is, man, we need to step up as a community.
Yeah.
And that's left out of the conversation.
Yeah.
Government cannot solve all of our problems.
Yeah.
The government is not going to save us. We have to save ourselves. We have to now make time. How can we activate the schools? How can we be out there as parents? How can we do whatever? How can we know this child is struggling when they're on a precipice? How as community can we pull them in? It's a big problem when we sit here and we think the government, man, have more than 3/4 of our time in America The government was actually the problem. They enslaved.
Yeah.
These ain't the same people that's gonna come save us.
Yeah.
You know, the most that we can hope for is to be able to have, funding or resources to do some things. But no one is calling. No one has the courage to be like, you know what, change in your community has to come from inside your community.
Yeah.
But us as a city, we're going to support that change. But you know what, you guys take the first step and we'll take 2.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we'll take 4. But we have to stand tall in our community. And it caught Mayor Harrell the day that Amar Murphy Payne was murdered, June 4th, 2025. 2020, what year is it? Says 6, 5, 4.
4.
And it was at the church. It was Mount Calvary. And he held an impromptu press conference there. And I said, Mayor Harrell, I said, on behalf of the people in this community that you're from, that you grew up with, man, what can we do? What can we do? It's not okay that we have killers amongst us. It's not okay that people are scared to walk down the street. This is not normal, sir. Give us the tools. Who do we need to work with? Who with SPD? O'Toole was there, or somebody, the last one, was there, and all these community advocates.
I remember
Tell
you
us
asking.
what we can do.
Yeah.
And man, unfortunately, the Mayor Harrell right there, he dropped the ball on it. That would have been a great time to be like, yes, us, our community.
Yeah.
We do this. It went to math and numbers and listening sessions and talking sticks and everything else. A week later, he came back hard when they went back to when the kids entered back in the Garfield. But no one is saying, people are scared to tell the truth.
Yeah.
We need to do better.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Well, that, we don't need to get into the details of that case. It's tragic. I did the press conference at the scene the day of. I was at that pop-up sort of press conference.
So you see me pop off then,
I
huh?
did. I remember very, very specific. And I thought it was great because I thought, okay, let me see what he does with this, right? The truth of that matter is that shooting happened. Like, let's just be real now. That shooting happened with a shit ton of people around. A lot of people saw, and a lot of people know, what happened before over at the football field. A lot of people know. There is no doubt in my mind that probably half the kids in that school have heard from other people, but I can tell you there's 12, 15 people that know exactly, who witnessed, who saw exactly what happened and know exactly who did what, and they won't come forward. And the police don't operate, the system doesn't operate based on what we know or what we think. You have to be able to have somebody say, I saw that. And the video is not good enough to identify. I mean, a lot of times today in crimes are solved by video. The video is not good enough. The pictures aren't clear enough. But if it's really, really tragic that, and this is often true from a police perspective. If we're staying, 100 here, Black folks are sometimes very reluctant to step up.
That's
you
why
don't want to be a snitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a ethos, and so sometimes that's not always true, but it's sometimes true that police believe that folks know stuff and just aren't, and maybe it's for fear.
I mean, it's a few different factors. I can see how young people who saw one of their classmates get killed and literally, I could see them being like, yeah, I don't know anything, right?
Because they're scared?
Well, of course.
Yeah.
But there's a flip side of it too. And I mean, that's kind of in its own category, right? But a school shooting and the expectation of young people, and we're hopeful there's someone right there, right? But if we circle back to that, just on the everyday things that are happening in our community around crime and around violence, everything else, man, it isn't always just, people are, there is some like, oh, we don't want to snitch, or some or whatever. Man, it's just people just, I don't know. Like for me, I'm cool. I mean, maybe it's just the way my mom raised me. It's for my brothers. It's just, man, right is right, wrong is right. I've faced down so many gun battles and so many this and so many of that. And I'm not saying I'm fearless or nothing, but what is the result? To live in fear?
Yeah.
That your family can't leave, you can't move around. So like if someone in a leadership position would just be like agreeing with like what I was saying, Aaron, Amar's dad, Aaron Murphy Payne, he's like, man, he said that after the murder, he said, I hate this neighborhood that I grew up in and I love. I hate this neighborhood. It was just him coming back there in December when they did the sock drive and we talked to him. He said, it took a lot for me to be able to come back here. How could my neighborhood not, I said, he's like, I don't blame the neighborhood for murdering my son, but how could nobody say anything to bring this killer to justice?
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah. It's brutal.
100%.
It's real. And so like for me, I really feel that as a community, and when it comes to these issues and these issues around violence and crime that's happening with us, it's just like, man, we have to have a voice.
Yeah.
We have to. It has to be identified that one, it's not normal. So what has happened is this, right? Is that, and even that day of that press conference there at the church would have been a great opportunity to be like, you know what? This isn't normal.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is, you don't have to be a Mayor Harrell who's really from the block, went to Garfield High School, was valedictorian, got admitted into Harvard, but decided to go to the UW. You know what I'm saying? He was an academic All-American and a Rose Bowl champion, married a black wife and came home. Like, man, his journey. You don't have to be that. You really could be an outsider because either way, what's happening right here is not normal.
Yeah.
And so, but unless someone is saying you guys are living in a place that's not normal, it's my job to bring you normalcy. Yeah. Whether my life's journey was growing up in this neighborhood, whether I grew up in New York, whether I'm an immigrant from another country, what you're experiencing now is not normal. You guys have been institutionalized by violence. This institutionalized violence in your community has you thinking that all the things that keep violence perpetuating is normal. Yeah. In a normal space, 10 people would be like, that guy did it. Get him out of here. Yep. It's not normal. Yep. No one is speaking to how abnormal this is right now. And if people would speak to that, their life journey of leadership wouldn't matter. We've had elected officials in and out who just be quiet. A murder happens and they're quiet.
Well, and if you talk about it, it's racist, right? Like if you talk about the issues and you're racist. There are a lot of cities doing better. You know that. Yeah. I mean, Baltimore's doing great. Oakland's doing really well. But again, what you see in those cities is not a bunch of white folks, in government buildings designing things and then trying to infiltrate a community. You see actual investment in community and people, again, designing the interventions who really understand it, right? Who understand what you're talking about.
Well, he's really just saying, let's be honest now. Let's be honest. Let's just speak the truth. Yeah.
Because what I'm saying is you can imagine through all the different administrations, and it took a minute, right? Even with Durkin. And near the end of her tenure in office, she had really come around to it. When I'd be like, hey, Mayor, I don't know, these people just got murdered here. You got anything to say? Does anybody on city council, do you guys have anything to say? And they would all be quiet and they'd go back to like city statute, RCW 532, that you can't speak on open investigation. And I was like, this is some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Because if an apartment building burned down right now and 30 people lost their homes, then people would be like, oh, our heart goes out to all the guys in Ballard at the building that burned down. Sad. I said, no one has an expectation for you to make a legal analysis, but you have to acknowledge the humanity of people who have lost something right here. You have to acknowledge the humanity of it. And I used to whip the shit out the city council on that. And Mayor Durkin. I'd be like, man, you're not going to say something here? What about there's the victim? What about the old guy who lives next door who's now traumatized, who's scared to leave his house? You have to acknowledge when people, where's your sense of empathy, your sense of sympathy? Where's humanity, dignity? These things are missing in messaging coming out of City Hall. And to her credit, man, by the time Mayor Durkin left, you know what I'm saying? She's the one who got the initial funding for parents of murdered children. Mm-hmm. She's the one that got the initial funding for it's a few more organizations. She found like her position had changed to the sense that, and I wouldn't say that before she was against, she was ignorant.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it takes people in community to be like, no, there has to be something more. If nothing else, you can acknowledge the humanity of people in a neighborhood, and they're going through some things.
Yeah.
From there, it would be great for people to stand on business. They're like, man, and say that this is not normal.
Yeah.
Right now, what we see in America is people are talking about ICE and ICE kidnapping people and everything else. And the one thing people are saying is, this ain't normal.
Yeah.
This isn't American. This is not normal. Yeah. How do we surge resources? How do we do this and that? How do we ICE-proof our city? What is somebody going to say? How do we murder-proof our city?
Yeah.
When is it going to be like that? How do we surge this and that in these press? I watch these things, and I'm like, man, that's cool. You know, whatever, however it's moved with ICE. But when has somebody ever brought that same energy to our city to say our young people dying is not normal? We're going to have an all-out assault to keep our children safe. Yeah. But no one is willing to take that stance. They'll take it for any stance but our youth and our community. And it's crazy to me.
Yeah. Don't you think Joy's trying?
Yeah, Joy's trying. She's in on Monday, and Joy be out there.
Yeah,
and she's in
and
our
I've
studios on Monday.
also watched her get eviscerated. You know, I've heard people say she's not good for the Black community.
No, people,
which is...
but they might let Joy walk on Union. You know, go to 23rd and Union with Joy. Go to 23rd and Cherry with Joy. Go to 23rd and Jackson with Joy. You know what I'm saying? Go up to Cap Hill. You have this overmodulated activist class that will tell you that Joy Hollingsworth ain't Black enough, and then they'll tell you that she ain't gay enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I've seen it.
Yeah. And so they come, but she's one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She's one. But I'm just telling you that imagine this messaging. When you talk to these young people, their families, and imagine what they're seeing right now, right? Because so much of what's happening right now when it comes to like ICE and whatever, the administration, it's not impacting them, right? And so it's not necessary, but they see our leaders saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. This is not normal in America. Little kids dying at school isn't normal either, but we've continued to tolerate
100%.
it, and we have not and we know what so many of the roots of the issues are. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's like, we're going to ban this gun and we're going to ban that gun. Well, man, the people who are killing people ain't buying no legal guns, and now they're printing them. Like, this is just, it's a crazy argument for people to even have, and it's a performative argument. There's very few people, especially these urban mass shootings, where somebody went to a gun shop, bought a gun, passed a background check, then got this and that, and then switched. They're not even, and so it's performative to be like, oh, well, we want to ban this firearm and that firearm and everything else, when that's not where it's happening. Chief Sean Barnes would tell you that, you know, that all these guns would just get stolen out of cars. People leave their car unlocked, things like that. These are criminals who are obtaining the firearms illegally. 100%. So whatever kind of legislation that you're going to do, it feels good right here, but does it have an impact on the streets?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
You connected me with Jason Clark, with Dr. Clark, who's brilliant. I'm always trying to figure out, how do we shine light on the CVI, like the early intervention work that is actually effective? Because I know that it's out there, but it feels like we've made some poor investments, and now people don't believe that works, that violence interruption works.
So violence interruption works, and those guys are good, and much love to Dr. Clark and to the Credible Messengers and everything.
Yeah, we should have him on.
And you definitely should. But since you asked a bigger question, I'm going to go to the bigger question. Man, the investment is let's talk about an ecosystem. We want to talk about an ecosystem here? So here's the ecosystem. Somebody like the CD Panther should never have to beg for money. Somebody like Jazz Ed that gives the free music classes for the kids should never have to beg for money. Some of these young travel groups and everything, fathers and sons together, they're out there. This is ground zero for prevention. Yeah. These groups right here, and guess what? They get shit on in the budget. They got to go and beg. Yeah. They got to go and run around and everything else because people have been convinced that the only route is the continuous route for the CVI. They do play a role. I know all of them. They know me. I'm not shitting on your business. I'm just being real. That it's like, that's one part of the answer, but only one part's getting funded.
Yeah.
Only one part is getting funded.
Yeah.
Ground zero for stopping violence is investment in prevention.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Before these young people get to this tipping point, to this precipice and everything else.
Yeah.
And it's been totally neglected. It's been overlooked. But also a lot of CVI stuff as a whole, you know what I'm saying? I mean, as collectively, I want to, implicate other people. I know a lot of people doing good work, but they have the biggest megaphone because the people from the CD Panthers sitting there coaching them kids all day. They don't go hang out with the mayor. They're not at public testimony. They're not at these things. A lot of these coaches, man, they're working 2-3 jobs, coaching the kids, and then going to feed the kids later. The parents, I mean, they're performing so many tasks, right? They can't go and advocate for no money. And so now, man, a lot of it is a business to me.
Yeah.
It's a business. And so every year it actually has to almost be worse so a budget can be increased. It's like a budget in D.C. or something right now.
Yeah.
It's what this shit looks like to me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a pipeline.
I acquiesce this seat to Omari. we're going to be here every week.
Yeah.
If you want to stop the pipeline, we talk about the school to prison pipeline, right?
Yep.
Imagine if the investment was from K to through school pipeline. You wouldn't see a prison. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'll share something else with you here. See, this is a fundamental problem. Not only maybe here in Seattle, I don't know about the rest of America. You would know, but there is no money for Black joy. And what I tell you that is, as a Black Joy network, I can tell you this, that we make amazing television, man. I've got Emmy Awards, Emmy nominations, stuff on airplanes and everything. We can't get no money for Black Joy. You know when people want to give us money? About Black pain.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And even the grants. For years, we never did no grants. There's different kind of grants now, but back then, it basically had to be, tell us how bad your community is so we can give you some money. That's basically what these grants and all these other things would say, right? So there is no, when somebody can come in though, and they can be like, yeah, well, you know what, man, it was me, and my childhood was so messed up, and then it was this and that. I harmed my community by selling drugs to my community, by trafficking my community's daughters, by killing people in my community. I've gone to prison now, but now I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And now they get the money. And you get kids out here who, man, they can't afford to take the PSAT and things like that, who've never harmed anybody. But there's no resource for them.
Yeah.
The system is upside down.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Again, this is the first time I've been working with grownups and not kids. And so, do you know Kendra Liddell? Did we talk about her? So Young Ladies of Today and Tomorrow. There's interventions like that. It's basically volunteer-led, but they're just making sure that girls and young women have what they need to be successful.
I mean, the Double Dutch divas should never have to beg for money. Yeah. This is what I'm saying. Our community has so many of the answers that are there, but the CVIs don't sucked up all the money. And a lot of times they've told decision makers and purse string holders that their answer is the only answer. And that's where elected officials have failed us as citizens. I think elected officials be like, well, man, this is great. Actually, this is a very comprehensive problem. So I do acknowledge that you guys need resources here, but also let's put some resources here. That's what's not happening. In the pipeline that could keep our kids from hitting that precipice is broken, and because of lack of resources.
I told you when Eric and I were at Champ Boxing, and at the end I said, "Is there
Kevin
anything?"
Loyal.
I love him. But again, we're watching that, and he Eric's an athlete, and was a coach, and we know this is a fundamental human idea that even when kids are in really rough circumstances, generally, if you have a thing, right, you got a mentor, you got a community, you got an instrument, you got a sport, you got a thing, that is the most protective factor. It is. 100%. But when I asked Kevin at the end, I said, is there anything else just on the side, as a community member volunteer, can I do anything for you? What do you need? He thought for a minute and he said, well, we really need bulletproof glass. And it was just the saddest moment for me because I know why he said that in that location. And I thought, this is what we're dealing with, right? And think about the lives of those kids, the intervention they're actually
Kevin
providing.
Lowe is impacting. I mean, it's not just that he's coaching them in boxing. It's just not that he's teaching them a discipline. He is inserting in all of those classes like personal integrity, accountability, holding yourself to a standard, acting right, do right, go to school, study, do all those things. And so that's the sort of the stuff that you're talking about. Like those are the answers. The answers are, instill in these kids this sense of responsibility and hard work and the ethics and all of that. And but yet he needs.
But also, I'll be thinking for months and years about this idea of joy, right? Because these are all the people we're talking about. They're joyful people. They're not. We don't want to
get no investment.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. Is that like, and because it's real in our business. Whenever we talk about Black joy, don't nobody want to give us no money, no investment or anything. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But as soon as it's something else, it's like, oh, hey, how can we do this with Converge and everything else? Because our society doesn't recognize Black joy as a real thing. The only thing that's registered with them is Black pain.
What do you think that is, honestly? What is behind that today in 2026?
I mean, one, people are assholes, but
give me a better answer.
I'm just... Black joy.
Do you think that's white guilt? Where we feel like, this is a penance if we shine light on...
No, I mean, it's weird because it's the most well-intending people. These are the people that you would really invite home and know that they're well-intending. They're not going to rob your house or something like that, But, man... Yeah, maybe it's some kind of white guilt thing or maybe it's whatever. Because, for us, we really have these quantifiable ROIs. We're in TV. Everything's quantified and everything else. And we're telling people this is actually an amazing investment here. You're going to get more of a return dealing with us on X, Y, and Z. And they're no, we're still going to go like the Black pain route. You see what I'm saying? And it's just really weird that that's all that they're responding to.
Yeah.
That... Man, and why Converge continues to it's a slow burn.
Yeah.
The positive route's a slow burn.
Yeah.
But it's a burn that will burn forever.
Yeah.
Because once you get people in there into understanding that it's crazy. And so now so many white people watch our show Back to Basics.
Yeah, that's right.
Magazine shows, 6, 7 highly produced positive stories. And they're blown away. Wow, this is happening here?
Yeah.
Two different kinds of people are blown away. This is crazy, right? This will trip you out. Lots of everyday white people who are like, wow, Black people basically have this many joyful moments. There's this many great stories. But here's the other one.
Are they people? Are these people and families and communities?
The other one is prisons. We get so much mail from prisons. And they were like, if I only knew that there was boat parties with beautiful women and this and that while I was out here on the block trying to do this. If I only knew that there was this or that happening. They didn't know there was so much Black joy around them. And it isn't until they're in prisons across Washington State and even in other parts of America that it's mind-blowing for them.
Yeah.
They're sitting there in the prison and they're like, man, I had no idea. Man, I grew up down the street from that park. That happens here and everything else.
I would not have anticipated when you said the other group. I was prisoners was not my answer.
But think about an Olympic though. Think about that. Because there are more. It's probably maybe a third white folks in this recovery community. Again, very joyful. I think why this matters so much is because then you're dwelling in possibility and hope, right? And I think the idea that we just stay mired in the worst trauma, right? The worst pain, the worst of our past. I think I told you that your mom once was talking to me about sorrow, that these kids, that's her perception, is that these kids are just mired and wallowing in collective sorrow. And for the young brain, that makes you either angry or despondent, right? It does not help you get through and you create the life that you want to live.
Well, it's true. And, you know, for us, it's wild because, man, these guys, they get out of prison and they want to come and meet Besa.
Yeah,
And, they,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and it's like it's usually at an event where, you know, she's doing something and we're shooting something and they see it and we get this feedback. And they're all so happy to meet her and to meet the crew. And they're like, man, you guys showed us that there's other things out here that are possible.
Yeah.
While the whole time I was on this street, I never realized that there's things that are there.
Yeah.
So it isn't only white people who Black joy is invisible.
Yeah.
A lot of our young people who are on their route to prison or in prison, they've never experienced it and don't know it's there.
You have to know it's possible. It was so interesting when we had Deontay over because I had, you know, seen him a million times, worked with him, loved the guy. I actually had no idea he had a backstory. I didn't because he's the most joyful human I've ever met. You know, I just assumed he was like born under a rainbow somewhere, smiling, you know. But it's such a good example of.
I was thinking that too. Why he gotta be a rainbow?
Deontay will confirm it would definitely be a rainbow. Yes, it was so interesting to to watch. I love the idea because for all folks, like everybody, you have to know there's post-traumatic growth. You have to. I don't think anybody goes through life unscathed, right? It's different degrees, but when something happens, you have to believe you can do something with that. Do something with the hard stuff and with the pain, and still, again, find joy or recover it.
Mama always said, and especially when we started doing the news, she was like, son, you talk about some heavy stuff there, but you can't never leave people in an affected state.
Yeah.
And, and that was like the thing with the morning update show. It was like no matter how heavy the news was, that last break, we'd always find something really uplifting and things like that. She said, because if you leave people in that affected state, you never know when they might get knocked out of it.
Yeah.
They might be walking around for a long time, traumatized by this or that.
Yeah. Okay, so you're talking to, I'm sure right now there are going to be people listening who voted for Obama, so they're sure they're not racist.
Yeah, definitely.
But don't actually know Black folks. So what would, outside of like politics and policy is really hard, but there are a lot of people with a lot of money. I'm from the nonprofit sector. I have seen wealth redirected and redistributed by people who start to actually understand. So what is your message generally, especially for folks in Seattle, just the average person? How can they help?
From an investment perspective.
Yeah, or just from, an awareness or...
Oh, help us, Converge? Or help
Converge, but also just the Black community, like the community that is harmed by gun violence.
Yeah. Man, it's tough because, people got whole business models set up, man, and fooling people of where they should invest and they're making, impacts. Yeah. It's horrible. You know what? What I would say is this, what I can say, right? Because it's a lot going on around intervention. But what I can say is that people, if you want to make an investment, let's invest in prevention. There's so many great organizations that are out there and programs that are out there. I mentioned a few here. There's youth sports teams like the CD Panthers, like Baseball Beyond Borders. There's, Fathers and Sons Together, which is like STEM. Amazing. There's Jazz Ed, where, kids are able to get instruments for free. Mm-hmm. Man, put the investment, because that's what an investment is, right? Is you put some money here today and then it gives a dividend over time. So if people want to make an investment, invest in these young babies. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And let it grow over time. You can contact almost any YMCA or YWCA because they're plugged in as well with a lot of groups and things, man, for youth. And these are the people who get overlooked. Yep. These are the people who don't have no funding. These are the people who don't have no lobbyists at City Hall or down in Olympia, but they do the work and they make something out of nothing every year. And if you're really serious about change in our city, just know that, man, we didn't get here overnight. We won't get out of it overnight, but someone has to invest upstream. We don't know if government's ever going to do it. It's cool. Then that means that people in the nonprofit space and everything else, they should make that now their calling to how can we make sure that these young people have a pipeline and they feel loved and invested in. And by the time it gets to that decision on the streets, man, they got some other stuff going on. Man, I got a band and I'm playing it now. Yeah. Man, you know what? I'm really focused on this sport. Or, hey, you know what? I'm doing whatever. We have to do that.
Yeah.
That's where I would recommend investment.
We should come up with a list together because, again, you alerted me. You were like, not this, say me this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe just even curating that with links for folks.
That
Because
would
I
be
think
great.
there are a lot of people right now, philanthropists, I know, because they tell me they're just not investing because they keep seeing scandal after scandal after poor outcome after. Yeah, so, yeah.
And there's a lot of groups, man. I'm going to tell you, it's hard out here. There's so many people in our community who with nothing show up for our kids every day and stay invested in them. They need help.
Yeah.
That's who needs help.
Well, let's do this. Let's get that list together, and we'll put it in the show notes here, and people can look it up when they're done watching this show.
Yeah, actually do something.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Omari, I got to tell you, I've seen you interview a lot of folks. I like you much better as the interviewee. You are outstanding.
Oh,
this
man,
was
thank you.
fantastic content. We never even got to any of this
I was
stuff that
going
you
to
were going to talk
say,
about.
Eric's just sitting here smiling. You're saying all the things.
I love it, man. I love it. It's just you're authentic, you're real, people know that you care. I mean, this isn't coming. You're not on a script here. You feel it. It means something to you, and I think that's why it means something to other folks because they can tell it's authentic. So thank you very, very much for your candid views. It's been really fun.
Yeah, and then last thing, so Converge. How can I know in my professional space what I can do, but how can people help this continue to grow?
Yeah, I mean, people should really know that it's like Converge. I mean, man, we're always fighting above our weight class, man. Like we're featherweights out here in a ring of heavyweights every day, and it's hard for us. Most months we can't keep our lights on, our internet on, or rent on, or whatever. But everybody shows up because it's what we're trying to do. And so, like, if people appreciate our work at Converge, listen, we need some money. I appreciate all the likes. I appreciate the comments and all that other stuff.
You can't spend a like
and everything else. But I mean, this is an opportunity because everybody consumes our media. Converge is one of the few ethnic media platforms in America that's consumed by the mainstream.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so we just want people to show up for us. Go to whereweconverge.com. Click on donate. You can make a one-time donation. You know what I'm saying? You can
you do it
subscribe.
monthly? People,
yeah. Man, and it's, it's $5 a month. It's the lowest, you know what I'm saying? And that's our $5 family. What's up? You've been rocking with us from day one. You feel me? But, people can subscribe. I mean, at this point of where we're at, we need people to really put their money where their mouth is if they appreciate what we do at Converge.
Yeah, and people can sponsor?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Sponsor. And
right.
and if you're a business owner out there, our show Back to Besa, let me tell you, is the fastest growing locally produced show in this part of America. Now airs 3 times a week. Yeah. So even if you want to go that direction, you buy advertising.
Yeah.
Like I got something for everybody.
Yeah,
You feel me?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. As always, you made me want to laugh and cry and
yeah, we often say, at the end of these things that now you've been bombarded, but I think we've been Omari. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, my hair got blown back. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
The Bombardin Podcast is a Barden Squared production. Executive producers are Eric Barden and Amy Barden, and video and audio production of the Bombardin Podcast is by Thread Theory Creative.